Thanks for joining me today. Today, here on the Faith Film Fan Podcast, we are talking about the film Brave the Dark. It's going to be in theaters January 24th. I've got the producer, Derek Dienner, on the phone, and then I've got the real life person that the film is about, Nate Deen, here with us. And Nate and Derek, welcome to the show.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yes. So let's start off. Nate, tell us a little bit about the film. For those who, don't know about it, don't know what this is, give us just a little update on what the film is.
Yeah, Brave the Dark's my story. It's a true story about when I was in high school and in desperate need of help. And that help came from an unlikely source, a teacher, my English teacher, actually, who helped me through a very hard time in my life. So it's a story of hope and redemption, and about, the small things, the small acts of kindness, which can end up turning into be really big, amazing things. And so excited to get this movie out to the world.
My wife and I saw it. We found it very inspirational, very well made, and we both enjoyed it very much, very much. So Derek, talk to me about, you're the producer of the film. And so talk to me about how the film came about, how you got involved, and kind of how this, now this is like an 11-year journey, right? So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's actually been a 13-year journey. Nate started writing the script 13 years ago with a writing partner friend. And, independent films take like a roller coaster journey over the years. And 7 years ago, he had producing partners that came in and started really building the team. They were able to get Damian Harris, the director, on board, and Jared Harris and Nicholas Hamilton. And the team really started to build. And then 4 years ago, I came on board. I went to Garden Spot High School as well. I've known Nate for years. I unfortunately didn't have the privilege of having Stan as a teacher. He retired when I started school, but I knew him in our community. He did a lot of community theater when he retired from teaching. So I knew him after his teaching years, but everybody knew Mr. Deen in this community. And it was pretty amazing to see it all come together over the last 13 years. But for me, the last 4 years, with, the financial side and, the production side and all those things. So yeah, it's been an independent film journey to get this thing to the finish line, but it's always had, positive forward momentum. For 13 years ago, Nate wasn't working on it full time, but it was always incremental growth, milestones hit along the way, keeping it moving forward. And yeah, in a lot of ways, it's just been a very challenging but rewarding journey for everybody involved, but incredible to see it coming out this weekend.
So Nate, it's your story and it's on film. So you're sitting there in the theater watching this story about you. You kind of started this with a screenplay and then, it's morphed, over the last 13 years. But talk about that experience of watching the final film. I think it was finished in 22. I think so. It's been done for a while. Talk about watching it and then seeing your life up there, and what that was like for you.
Incredible, surreal. It's been a long journey, but a really good journey. It's a story that needs to be told, and I'm glad that I can tell it and share it in the medium of film. I can't tell you how many times this could have stopped or gone off the rails, but everyone that joined and became part of this film has just taken it to the next level, and watching Jared Harris and Nicholas Hamilton on stage or on the screen is so incredible. So incredible. And Damian Harris's direction. I love the film. I'm thrilled with it. I think that it's way above and beyond my expectations, I think. And so I'm proud of it. And we just worked so hard to get it to where it is, and it's just surreal. And I'm just so thankful and so blessed that we are where we are today.
So Jared Harris is the actor who plays the teacher, Stan Deen,
Yep.
and his brother, Damian Harris, is the director. and their dad is Richard Harris, the Academy Award winning actor, from Camelot. And so, and Jared, I like on the, he's in The Crown, he's in Foundation, it's like, oh man, I know this guy. So it's great seeing a familiar face too, but without the English accent. So,
Yeah.
and I believe
Yes.
the actor who's playing you is Australian or something, right? And so
Yep.
he sounds great too, but the acting's so well done. Derek, talk about putting the team together. Were you involved? What was your involvement in putting this together? Finding a director, finding an actor. I know there were 3 producers on this particular film.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit about your involvement and just putting this team together.
I was super blessed and thankful to have so much of the core team put together before I joined. So between the work that the other producers did with Nate before I was on board, it was so much was done. So there was just so many providential things that Damian Harris got the script via a producer, stepped like all these kind of crazy stories how he got there, and then he shared it with Jared. And as they're talking through just what they're working on, and that's how Jared got involved, and then he knew Nicholas, out in LA, and so there was all these like relational points that the Harris brothers really brought to the film that really took us to the next level.
Now it was finished in 22, so that means some of it was done during the COVID time. Talk a little
Yeah,
bit about that.
that was hard.
It was filmed. It
That
was
was
filmed
hard.
during COVID. What was?
Yes.
Were you guys wearing masks and doing all that during that? During
Yeah, it
that?
was, 2021. It was really hard. I mean, 3 tests a week, strict kind of vaccination. Like there was so many union rules that were, trying to keep everybody safe. So back then they had a lot of we just had a lot of challenges. What if we would go down, if Jared or Nick would have went down or Damien would have went down, we would have been really stuck. So it was really tough to we made it through without any major. We had a few people that had gotten sick, but nobody got majorly sick. Nobody got to the point where they were hospitalized or anything like that. And then it didn't shut the production down either. So we were really thankful during that time. It was 2021. And then we were also shooting at the real high school. So they let us shoot in there, even it was a public school. And
Is that in Pennsylvania? Was that in
in
Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania. Yeah, everything was shot in central Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, and a couple of surrounding counties, but everything was shot, here where it all happened. And Garden Spot High School, the superintendent at the time, really, he wasn't the same superintendent when Stan was there, but he knew about Stan. He had met him before and wanted this to be shot there. Like he cared too. He wanted this to happen where it happened. And that was really important to Nate, and it was important to me too. And a lot of people, it just kind of set a sense of authenticity that, Nate says a lot too. I mean, I say it too, but, Nate living the story, it's very authentic to him to see this play out on screen. And so in COVID, we were shooting nights and weekends at the school. And it made it challenging to find locations too. There was certain, like the real prison that it happened in, we got outside shots, but we couldn't go inside because they were really strict about COVID restrictions. So we had to find like an abandoned, it wasn't an abandoned prison, but it was a wing of another prison that was open to us that was not being used at all. And so those were some of the challenges that we had that were like really hard with locations, and then background too. Like people didn't want to come out and play background. Like it was just getting a lot of background extras to come out. Back then nobody wanted to be in groups. So it was tough.
Nate, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, it was tough, but everyone endured. Everyone believed in the story from the very beginning. And so, yes, it was really hard, and it wasn't fun for Derek or I or anyone. But we wore our masks. We did the things we needed to do.
Yes.
We protected everybody, which was really important. And I'm just so thankful for everyone just being willing to work at a time when, it would have been easy just to stay at home. But yeah, just so thankful that we got through that.
Yeah.
Nate, did I see you in the film? Were you in the orphanage?
Oh man,
Did I see you in this
he's gonna
film?
give that away? No, Uh, you might see me at the end.
Did I maybe see you at the end of the film? That's
You
how
might
we'll
have
say
seen
it.
me at the end.
I think I might have seen you acting.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a bit surreal, and I didn't even know that I was going to be in the film until literally 2 hours before that moment. Um, the director's like, "Hey, you need to be in this thing. We think it'd be awesome if you can open the door for, the guys playing you and Stan." And it was really, really cool. It was kind of, again, very surreal to open the door and welcome, young Nate and Stan. And so it's a blessing, and it's one of those little nuggets that, you know, some people will catch, and hopefully everyone will catch that. Hey, that's the real guy.
So in the film, obviously your real life story. There's trauma. We won't give away the, what it is. People need to see the film, but there's trauma that you went through, and then this teacher really reached out and made an impact and made a difference
Yeah.
in your life, and ended up, becoming, very, a family member, basically,
Yeah.
literally. And so let's talk about uh, involving your life with other people, getting involved with
Hmm.
people that you see, and you notice the trauma, you see what's going on. And a lot of times we just don't want to get involved in stuff because it's just messy, right? People are messy.
Yeah.
We talk about at my church, ministry's messy. It's just what it is. And talk about that, about the importance of getting involved in that. When you see that pain, you see that in someone's life, that trauma, can you make a difference?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that anyone can make a difference. And you don't always have to do everything that like Mr. Dean did for me, who literally took me into his home. We like to say that I was the son that Stan never had, and he was the father that I so desperately needed. And I think just small acts of kindness, in the film, he does something, and I won't give it away, but he offers me something at a time that I needed it the most. And really, that small act of kindness was the planting of the seed for change in my life. I didn't know it then. He didn't know it then. But those small acts of kindness, you never know how far they'll go. And for me, when I see young people in need, I just want to remind them that they're not in this thing alone. Um, don't give up. And as Stan said many times in the film, this too shall pass. And it does. But you have to be willing to make that change, as I was. At some point, I had to say, you know what? I'm going to allow Stan to help me get through all of these things. His mentorship meant a lot to me. And so I love that in the film, that he never gave up on me. He never judged me. He always encouraged me. And he just really tried to bring out the best in me, even, when I didn't even see it in myself.
And it had a huge impact in your life
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
you were going to end up in jail. That's where
Yeah.
you were headed.
Yep.
And God, there were other things. Somebody had other plans for you. That
Absolutely.
wasn't what the plans were. And
Right.
speaking of not, things coming up that you weren't planning on, Derek, you a few years ago found out you had stage 3 colon cancer. And there's even a
Yeah.
short documentary about that. Like, can you talk a little bit about that journey in your own life, facing that, and then what kind of impact that had on you?
Yeah. I mean, being 31 years old and facing colon cancer, it's not an easy journey at all. I mean, I think I everything stopped and nothing else mattered. And basically what it taught me and what I do I'm just thankful every morning to be alive. I'm thankful to be here. Come what may, every day it's just to fight another day, to live another day. I'm just super thankful. So the journey that I was through on that, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I did call it the day I became alive because I felt like it opened up my eyes to a new world of thankfulness and a new world of um, not being kind of wasting years or wasting life. A little bit of a second chance, maybe, to not take on, not to take risks, or to take risks. Sorry, not to like let life go by too fast. So that was thankfully I was diagnosed with a diagnosis that was treatable, stage 3 colorectal cancer. So I had surgery and chemo and things, but in the beginning I didn't know exactly how it was going to all play out. And 7 years later, I'm still thankful to be here, and just every year uh keep getting clear scans and blood work, and hopefully just
Oh, thank
continue
the
it on.
Lord. Thank
Yeah.
God. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
7 years. Wow. So,
Yeah.
so Nate, what's very common when you have a broken relationship with an earthly father? What's very common is that we'll project onto God traits of our earthly dad.
Hmm.
So if my dad was abusive or if my dad was non-existent, I'll struggle believing God's there, believing he's even there. If he never told the truth, I'll struggle believing God.
Hmm.
And so you had this very difficult relationship with your earthly father. So I'd like to know, just in your own personal God journey with the Lord, with God, where, what was that an impact on you? And then you had a father, another person come in and model a different kind of father to you, somebody who was present, who did value you, who did say you matter and you're important. And that changes things too. So do you mind just telling me your own journey with God through your own personal father story? It's something I'm very, very interested in.
Yeah, in the movie, we do deal with two types of fathers. We have the guy that wasn't supportive, the guy that did horrible things, and then we have this teacher who became my father, literally. And so you have these two guys that you're trying to figure out, like, of course, we're going to go with Mr. Dean as the good guy. He's the hero of this film. For me, though, when I was younger, you're right. I didn't believe in God. I blamed God for a lot of what I was going through. And it wasn't until I met Mr. Dean that we started having discussions about God, and that, he had a plan for my life. And it wasn't all that negativity. Um, and sometimes things happen in life that you can't predict or understand. Um, but we can't look in that rearview mirror anymore. We have to move forward. And Stan was able to instill that in me, that positivity, always encouraging. And he showed it by living an example. He was such a man of integrity, such a man after, who loved Jesus, who loved sharing his love for Jesus and sharing his story. He was a man of great faith. And so, that healing process took a while. It wasn't like all of a sudden I just became a Christian or changed my life. It took some time. Our early relationship was really like Barbara Streisand versus Metallica, right? Like it was a battle. But he never gave up, like I said. And so that journey for me took some time. But because of Stan, I realized that there is a God out there who loves and cares for me and wants the best for me and has a plan for me.
It's amazing how that earthly father can impact our
Hmm.
faith in Father God, either negatively or positively. It's just amazing how important that relationship is. So for you to have someone to come in and take a father role in your life and show you a positive role model, what a wonderful thing. And then
Yeah.
Derek, I'm going to ask you the same thing. I mean, you went through cancer. I mean, you're looking at the end of your life possibly at 31 with a family, children, marriage. Talk to me about what were the conversations with you and God like during that time?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think a lot of, at first, why me? It's not fair. Just kind of wrestling with, like, my wife's dad passed away of pancreatic cancer when she was 18. So the minute I was diagnosed, she was like, here's another man that I love is gone. Or, until we knew, obviously colorectal cancer is different than pancreatic cancer, but it's still the word cancer. It's still the same scare. But then processing through it, I never felt closer to God, actually, after I kind of wrestled with this and became in a different way of like, okay, this is something that will actually open up my heart to a different kind of dimension potentially that I never could feel before, never knew before. The mortality, when death is closer, you kind of imagine, I don't know, who God is more, and you can see things differently. And I just remember the first like kind of holiday season after that, spending time with my family. I told people I loved them. I told my family members I cared about them. I was like things that I've never said before to people. I was much more open and clear and loving, and didn't let the little things bother me, like the stresses of owning a business, or the stresses of things. Like I didn't let those things bother me. And so I think it opened up my heart to a different dimension of love for others and for myself. I think self-acceptance and self-love is such an important thing. And I don't know, I was going through a season at that time that was struggling with that. And I mean, I still probably do too, but God was certainly real in my life then, and remains that way. I think it's every year I feel like I'm further away from my diagnosis. I need to keep regrounding myself in that thankfulness. But that was the journey for me.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine, I know in
Yeah.
the Bible that one of the disciples said to Jesus, "Will you show us the Father?" And Jesus said, "When you've seen me, you've seen the Father." That Christ models this Father to us. And the struggle is, they said, what are the works we must be doing of God? And Jesus said, "This is the work of God, is that you believe." That's the work, is believing that through Christ, I'm seeing this loving Father and I can find him. And that's where we find our perfect Father. So it's so great to hear these stories. And now in the film, Nate, you mentioned that Mr. Deen was a Christian, but that wasn't really expressed in the film. Was that a decision that they made on purpose to try to just make it so that it was impactful for everyone, or what was the discussion on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I early on, we just felt like we wanted this film to work for everybody. Like we wanted it to be a film that could touch everybody, not just a faith-based film. Though I believe the gospel's kind of in there the whole way through. We just don't, it's not a big feature. I believe that this film is also kind of like a stepping stone for people, that the unsaved can watch it. The secular world can watch this, and maybe ask questions, and dig further, and be inspired, ask questions, go to, all the things that you hope for, with this type of film. So yeah, it was pretty intentional. But there's some great moments in the film where Stan, prays, right in front, very deeply, at a very critical moment in the film. So there's a little bit of it in there, but again, we just wanted it to be universal, for everyone.
Well, it was very inspirational. My wife and I, as I said, enjoyed it. And guys, thanks for doing this. This is great. We're talking about the film Brave the Dark. It's going to be in theaters on January 24th. It's an Angel. Angel is distributing it. Angel.com. You can get more info. And before we go, Derek, I did want to ask this. So, the film was done in 22, and you're looking for a distributor. Talk to me about the journey of finding Angel and this being put out through Angel Distribution.
Yeah, we, like a lot of independent films, it's a hard world out there to get distribution. It's really tough, for independent films right now. Even studio films are struggling in theaters and trying to figure out how to mobilize audiences. So, we worked for a couple years with an agent, and did film festival circuit too, which was very meaningful and impactful to a lot of people who saw the film. But it wasn't until earlier in 2024 that we found Angel, and submitted the film to the Guild and went through that process, and the Guild approved it. But we're very thankful for Angel, even though it's been a journey to get here. And it's the one thing that's been, the timing of it was tough too, because when we were in the kind of the main sales process, the writer's strike was going on, and the actor strike was going on, and there was a lot of distractions, a lot of things going on out there. And so it was, the timing of it was all challenging, but I do believe that we're really excited about Angel Studios and the launch this coming weekend. But it's certainly been an independent film journey.
Well, the film can be seen January 24th, theaters across the
Yeah.
nation. Is this just a regularly distributed film? It's not like a
Yeah.
Fathom event. This is going to be
No,
out
it's wide release. It'll be weeks. This is opening weekend, but it will be a weeks of
at least 2 weeks. Do you know the theater count?
more than that. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. It's a wide release, so we haven't gotten the final number yet, but it's certainly going to be everything's pointing to between 2,000 and 2,500 right now.
Wow,
So
that's a
yeah,
great release.
yeah,
Man,
yes, it'll
Angel
be a
does
huge
such a good
release.
job of that kind of stuff.
Yes,
Or
yes,
they really
they've been-
do.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you can find out more information on a theater near you by going to angel.com. January 24th, that's coming up, folks. And so Nate and Derek, thank you so much for being on the show. What a great interview. Appreciate your time.
Nice to meet you, Rick.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.